Okay, we are ready for our next game, game 3.
Once again, white plays e4. Black follows with e5. However, this time white plays knight to f3.
This is the most popular move, getting the knight out and right away attacking black's pawn on e5.
And black defends the pawn on e5 with knight to c6.
It's the most common response in this position.
And white continues with d4.
This is the so-called Scotch opening. Other, even more popular moves are bishop to b5, the Ruy Lopez, or bishop to c4, the Guccio Piano. I personally used the Scotch in my World Championship match against Xi Jun in 1996 very successfully, so I have certainly very pleasant memories with this opening.
Black plays knight takes d4.
This is black's first mistake. It was better to capture with the pawn, and then when the knight captures back, continue developing either with bishop to c5 or knight to f6. Knight captured.
And now white decides to capture the pawn on e5.
Now white has a pleasant choice to capture the pawn on e5 or capture the knight on d4 and get the pawn back that way. Both give white a small advantage.
And black continues with knight to e6.
Well, now the knight was under attack since white just removed the guard of the knight from e5, so it had to get away from the attack.
White plays bishop to c4.
And white proceeds developing.
Black plays f6.
Well, this is a critical moment of the game. Black made a big mistake. And that's something you should remember. Moving the f-pawn early on in the game is very often dangerous. Why? Because the king is located right on this diagonal, and if it would castle, it would be located on that diagonal. And as you can see, it right away opens up both of those diagonals. In this case, this is suicidal. In some other cases, it's only not good.
White took advantage of that diagonal by playing queen to h5 check.
Well, that's a very good move. Right away taking advantage of black's mistake.
Black plays g6.
Black is trying to counterattack. Now the white queen is under attack, and so is the white knight.
White plays knight takes g6.
This is a very typical motif in king-pawn openings. Try to remember it. That queen check, and when a pawn moves up, you are able to take the pawn because there is a pin on the h file over the pawn. If the pawn takes, the rook would be hanging on h8.
Black plays knight to g7.
Well, black thinks he is smart. Doesn't take the knight, but tries to chase the queen away. Now, if the queen would retreat, the knight could be taken safely because the rook no longer is hanging.
And white plays bishop f7 check.
Well, here white has several good ways to continue, but the best one is to force checkmate. You'll see how very soon the black king will end up here. Can you believe it now? While it's still here? Seems incredible, right? But just in a few moves, you'll see the king ending up there by force, or getting checkmated even quicker. Game continued with bishop to f7.
Black plays the only move, king takes f7. And now white plays knight to e5, double check.
The knight could also capture the rook with a double check. However, that does not lead to a forced checkmate like knight e5 does.
King to e6.
The beauty about double checks is that neither of the two pieces can be captured, even though both of them are under attack. The king moving to e7 or e6 result in the same variation.
Queen to f7 check.
Now the king is being chased farther.
King to d6.
Capturing the knight would be even worse and the game even quicker. If you take a moment, I'm sure you'll notice how white is checkmating now in just one move, right in the middle of the board, by moving the queen to d5. It's a beautiful scene from the white side. So the king moved to d6 to stay in the game.
Knight c4 check.
And the chase of the king continues.
King to c5.
King c6 would end the game right away, again, by checkmate with queen d5. King moved to c5.
And white continues with queen to d5 check.
White doesn't leave peace for the black king.
King to b4.
No other move.
And now c3 check.
Now there are numerous ways to checkmate. It's a matter of taste, how you want to end the game. You can check with your bishop, the a pawn, or the c pawn, all ending the same way.
King to a4.
Only legal move.
And now the final blow with b3 checkmate.
And the game ended with b3, checkmating the black king. Of course, if you prefer, you can also give checkmate by queen to a5. What's the moral of the story? Just like in our first example, where white moved the queen too many times early in the game, in this game black did the same mistake with his knight, moving 4 times, neglecting developing all the other pieces. Also, black made another mistake, something new that we haven't seen in any of the other games so far. He moved the f-pawn too early, and therewith opening up the diagonal where the king is, the e8, h5 diagonal, and that's where all the trouble started. And then white beautifully used the opportunity to chase the black king all the way to a4 and to checkmate it.